Hi and welcome to another Unity tutorial. In this tutorial, we'll try to understand what is different in the new input system and how to use it.
Welcome to Vining Studio. Let's start making games.
Now, before we can use the new input system, we need to install it. To install the new input system, just go to Window, Package Manager. Make sure Unity Registry is selected and search for input. So you should find the input system package. Click on install. So it will take some time to install the package. Once the package is installed, you will have a prompt here. It will ask whether you want to disable the old input system and use the new input system. Click on yes. It will restart your Unity editor. Once your Unity editor is restarted, you are ready to use the new input system. The first thing that you have to create is an input action asset. To create an input action asset, just go to your project window, right click and search for create. Then go to input actions. It will mostly be the last in your menu. So click input actions and I'm going to call this a test control. So once you have your input action asset, double click it. So it will open the input action editor. It has an action map tab and an action tab, and once you select the action, you will also see the bindings tab here. And you can also come up with different control schemes here. You can have one for desktop, you can have one for Android, so you can have multiple control schemes. Action maps are basically collection of actions, so you can also have multiple action maps. Now before we create an action map or an action, we'll see if the input debugger is working. So just go to Window, Analysis, Input Debugger. This will show you all the devices that are connected to your PC. For example, my PC has a keyboard, a mouse, a touchscreen. So for you to create the bindings, the device must be listed here. So if it is not listed, then it will be a problem. So if you want to create a control scheme for the controller, then it's better to have the controller connected to your PC. And you want to know the buttons that you can read from this device, just double click on the device. So you'll have all the keys that you can read from here. So once you have all your device set up, you can just close this. Let's double click the input action asset to edit it. Let's create an action map. Let's call it test action map. Now let's create an action for jump. So let's click on the new action, edit it and call it jump. Now click on the arrow here. You should see a binding option. If you want to have multiple bindings, then you can click on the plus sign here and click on add binding. Now select the binding, and from here you need to select the key that will be responsible for the jump action. So click on the drop down here. So I'm going to use my keyboard, so click on the keyboard. You will see a listen button here. Click on the listen button, and once you have the prompt listening to button, press the space bar. So now you'll be able to see the space bar. So now we have set the binding. So once you have created the action map and the action and set the binding, you can close the input action asset editor and click on save. Now you need to access this from the script generate C# class and click on apply. This will create a C# script. I have an empty player controller script here and I have attached it to the direction light just for the sake of this tutorial. So let's open it for editing. So it's an empty script. The first thing that you have to do is to add a namespace using Unity engine dot input system. So this is required for the new input system, and in the start you create a new variable of type your input action asset. So my input action asset was called test control, and I'm going to call the variable new input. So that will be equal to new test control. Now we have an object of test control. So we need to enable the action map. So you just have to say new input dot name of your action map, which was test action map. Then you have to say enable. So now your action map is enabled. Next you just have to subscribe to the action. So you have to say new input dot test action map dot your action name, which is jump dot performed. So when the jump is performed, we'll subscribe to the event using a function called player jump. So we are getting an error because there's no function called player jump. So just click here, press Control dot, and if you're in Mac, it's Command dot. So you'll see this menu and click on generate method, player jump. You don't need this line, so you can just delete it off. Then we'll just debug log and we'll say player pressed. Now let's go back to Unity. The script is attached to our direction light. So now if we play the game and press the spacebar, you can see that a debug log is displayed. Basically, you can create any number of actions and action maps, and you can have different control schemes for different devices. So you can configure it in any way. The main advantage of using the new input system over the old input system is that you subscribe to the event, so that way you don't have to scan for the input every update. In the old input system, you generally put an if statement in the update, so you are basically scanning for the input in every update. That affects the performance. You can also give the user an option to switch between control schemes so that the user can decide what they want to use. So that's it for this tutorial. Thank you and see you in the next tutorial.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share.